Memphis is the home of the blues, rock and roll, and Earle Farrell.
From the Collierville Square to the mighty Mississippi, the Earle Farrell for Memphis show is all about good things that happen across the Bluff City and the people who make Memphis cool.
The Earle Farrell for Memphis show is made possible by our title sponsor, Southern Security Federal Credit Union, and by Kathy Thurman Edwards, State Farm Insurance.
Plus, Diane Kimbrough, Lady Dive, your insurance PI. Also by Dive Shop and Dive Ventures nationwide. Jim Karras Chevrolet with George Gully. Napa Cafe Memphis and Glenda Hastings. Phoenix Unequaled Home Entertainment. For Memphis Magazine. The Live at the Garden Concert Series. And the Orpheum Theater Group Memphis. Thank you to all the sponsors for making this possible.
And now, coming to you from Lansky Brothers, Clothier to the King, inside the world-famous Peabody Hotel, with the heart of a cowboy and Memphis in his soul. Ladies and gentlemen, here's your host, Earle Farrell.
Thank you very much, and welcome in on this very fine day here in the Mid-South. Kind of heating up, but it is summertime, which means it's almost time for Live at the Garden. And speaking of Live at the Garden, we have the folks from Live at the Garden with us this afternoon. Olivia Wall, who is the Director of Marketing and Communications, so you cover all the bases, and Jamison Totten, who's Director Live at the Garden and Radion's Amphitheater, and welcome to the show.
Thanks for having us.
Another big year lining up, and you got a great lineup. But the very first one is Third Eye Blind. Looking forward to it. I mean, that's the first show of the year coming up, next weekend?
Next Saturday.
Next Saturday night. And is it like anything like putting on a show on stage, like on Broadway? The closer you get, the more nervous you get, or is it everything's nailed down, you got to just show up?
The closer you get, the more nervous you get. I mean, we have to watch the weather here. Broadway doesn't have to watch the weather, so can be a little bit nerve-wracking.
Well, what I'm hoping is, because if you notice there's been a trend the last couple of weekends, it rains every weekend, and so we got to break the trend.
Yeah.
And or it can have which has happened before over the years, where it'll rain in the morning, clears off, and beautiful evening actually cools things off.
Yeah, absolutely. Those seem to be some of the best evenings out at the Ratings Amphitheater.
It is amazing how many people hang around hoping something neat will happen. I know that when ZZ Top was supposed to have been here a couple of years ago, and my sister and husband flew in, and we're out there. We actually went to the tables, and it was looking really good. Then they said, you're going to have to leave.
That's no fun.
No. And it just got worse. I mean, it wasn't one of those deals where it was going to be kind of pushed through and be over with. So we went home and put ZZ Top on Pandora and sat out on the deck in the rain. And the Doobie Brothers did that. Same thing. Don't tell Billy that. But it is because I've had venues before, and I had Sleep Out Louis downtown. We used to have those alley parties. And your biggest fear, you get about 40 kegs of beer, and it rains because you bought the beer.
And everything else.
Yes. So the lineup here is really incredible this year. Third Eye Blind, of course, is number one. And let's talk just about the logistics of that. A lot of people in the past were able to park at different places. The parking, again, this year will be down Cherry Road, headed toward Park. Is that correct?
You can enter off of Park or Southern to get to the parking. The parking lot that's a paid parking is just north of the building, the Memphis Botanic Garden building, and then we have free parking off of Perkins, right across from Theater Memphis.
Okay. And you could walk in from there. Are there any shuttle buses from any of the parking areas?
Yeah, so wonderfully we have a shuttle bus from just a couple blocks away from the Hilton headquarters, and so that's totally free. Folks can park there. They can hop on the shuttle, ride on right to the amphitheater, and take it on the way back as well.
Kathy said, James, mispronounced your last name, Totten.
Totten.
I don't know what I called you, but I thought it was Totten.
Close enough.
As long as they don't use curse words in my name, I take it as a compliment. The wonderful thing about Live at the Garden is this is the 26th year going into?
It's our 25th year.
25th year. I can remember when it first started, there was no stage. You brought in stage for each event. Mm-hmm. There was kind of a tent you put up for the people that sat at the tables and have hors d'oeuvres and drinks beforehand. And it was all very, very portable. Over the years, it has become a very static situation. You got a permanent VIP room, you got a permanent stage, backstage, and but you kept the feel of Live at the Garden, which is a real grassroots, no pun intended, kind of a movement, because people like that. And I always love the comments that the bands make, because a lot of them have never played a venue like this. They go, "What's up with the tables and chairs?"
Absolutely, but I think that's part of our spirit, and what makes us so unique and so wonderful to our community is that we are grassroots. We do want to be the best and biggest garden party out there.
Yeah.
So we want folks to come and bring their picnics, bring their coolers, bring their chairs, come on and spread out and just have a wonderful night out under the stars. And there's not a ton of places you can do that where you feel safe and you're in a really wonderful space in the heart of the city.
And that is, and I think being in the heart of the city is a huge incentive for many people. We live in Collierville, and we go, well, let's load up and go. When it first started out, it was just if you didn't bring your food and drink, you didn't have anything. And now you've got food trucks, all kinds of food and drink, very readily available.
Yeah, we have so many wonderful food vendors that come year after year and just have so many wonderful options for folks that don't want to haul a cooler in the heat, which I know I wouldn't. And we got bars spread out throughout there, and also you can also do pre-order catering, so you can order ahead, you can get platters, you can get all that good stuff. I need to go and checked off the box.
The thing I like about it is people still come out there and they'll have a chandelier in the middle of their table. They'll be roasting a goat right there.
It's only happened a couple times.
But it is amazing how people do really want to go all out. And I guess they've been to the Grove at Ole Miss, and they said, we can steal that idea, take it to Live at the Garden.
Yeah, and, there's quite a few people that come to the concerts that really don't care who's going to be there. They just come for the friendly family and atmosphere and having a good time with all the folks there. And
it really is, because you see people that you don't see the rest of the year except at Live at the Garden concerts. And a lot of people you haven't seen in many years. And all of a sudden, there they are. And you go, wow, where did you come from? I said, the back. But it is a great production. There's also the shows are, even though there have been some repeats over the years, so many of the great people you've had there, they've been one appearance and one appearance only. And so you never know who you'll see again. That's why you don't want to miss any of them, because you never know who's. I remember when Sugarland came, they had just cut their album when they got booked. By the time they got here the following summer, they had like 3 or 4 number one hits off that same album. And it was like, wow. And people were really mugging each other at the gate trying to get tickets to get in. So you never know who's coming and how big a deal they're going to be.
Absolutely.
The next show, June 21st, is Third Eye Blind. Tickets still available for that?
Tickets are still available at Ticketmaster.com. Our tickets are for the General Admission Lawn are $70 plus fees on that, and they'll show up when you go to buy your tickets. But we still have season passes available, and that basically you get a free show for that if you get all 5.
And the pit. Some shows you have the pit, some you don't. Is there a pit this time at Third Eye Blind?
Yes, we do have a pit for every show. Most of those get taken by the artist at times, but we have been selling a pit, a season pit pass also, and then we sell them online. They usually sell out before we even get to the show.
But check on them if you like doing that kind of thing. Check when you call about your tickets and see if they're still available. Then you got Parker McCollum, July 18th, and tell us about Parker.
Parker is a fantastic country superstar right now. Folks are just adding all about him and can't wait to see him. I know he's someone new for us, and we're super excited to have some new talent in, and I think it's going to be a really fantastic show.
Yeah, when I got a picture to put up of him to tell him he's coming, he's a nice-looking young man. Because all the women screamed when you guys made the announcement, like, he must be good-looking. It always helps. But he's also very talented and puts on a really good show. That's going to be July 18th, and I guess still plenty of tickets for that.
Yes, but they are selling now quickly.
Yeah, I can tell by the reaction. August 23rd, Darius Rucker, who everybody knows, everybody loves. He's been here before.
He's like family now. He's been here a few times, and he's played a couple of birthday parties at the Radiance Amphitheater as well, so we're all good friends now.
Who are the friends that had the birthday parties there? That's who I want to be friends with.
Me too.
I'll bring a present. But he is, everybody I've talked to that met him has said he is the nicest guy.
Oh yeah, he's very nice. The crew's very nice. The manager, the tour manager, they're all really nice.
What I keep hearing over and over from the people I've met that have been here is that it's a very family-oriented environment for the people in the bands that come here and the people that set up the shows and all, because they bring their families too. And backstage, it's like a campground, and the people are riding their bikes and playing frisbee.
Absolutely, yeah. A couple of years ago, one of our artists had their children on tour with them, and our youth education staff on the garden side gave them a wonderful day of like summer camp activities. They fed the koi, they ran around the garden, they tie-dyed a T-shirt, and so that's those making those special moments happen even off the stage is really wonderful, and we love that we're building community.
And they say the food is really good in Memphis too. That's one of the things I look forward to coming to Memphis is because of the food you guys cater for them.
Oh yeah, our pre-orders with Hog Wild, they do a great job, and you don't have to have a table to pre-order. You can walk up buy it from the lawn seat. And our food vendors out there have been fabulous over the past few years. We have a little bit of something for everybody, and everybody has a vegan option,
which I'm super stoked about.
Yeah. I'm always saying, you can have my vegan part, but
I'll eat it.
Where's the beef?
I'll eat it, Earl.
Then August, that's August 23rd, and there's still tickets for that?
Yes.
Okay. And then September 6th, I mentioned him earlier, although I was wrong, ZZ Top.
That's okay, you just really like ZZ Top.
I do.
We know what show you're excited about, clearly.
Billy Gibbons used to come into my place when I had Sleep Out Louie's downtown years ago, and he would come in the middle of the afternoon when he'd be recording at Ardent. And nicest fellow in the world. He'd come sit down, and I looked at him the first time. I said, well, that looks like Billy Gibbons. And I walked over to him, and I said, Billy? He said, correct. But who else looks like Billy? And then previously Dusty, and both of them had the long beards. I actually saw some pictures of them when they were young, and I was like, I don't think anybody's seen their naked face.
Unrecognizable.
Yeah.
Yeah,
they look like two regular guys. And obviously they're not, but they're very talented. But I was talking to Ron Olson about the other day. Their videos back when She's Got Legs and all those big hits they had, and they sound just the same. And people love going to see them. They put on a great show. And you often wonder what the group comes out and they have a few hits, and you think, well, I wonder if we'll ever see them again. And they've just over the years, there's a great documentary that's out on, I think it's on Cinemax, or not Cinemax, Netflix, about the little band from Houston, Texas, and it traces their whole history. If you haven't seen that, try to watch that before they come here, which they'll be here September the 6th, because it really gives you a good perspective on who they are, where they came from, and really all they've been through. They're an amazing group. And still tickets for ZZ?
Still tickets for ZZ, yeah.
And then September 19th, the Steve Miller Band. What a great band to wrap up the season with.
Oh, yeah. Steve Miller is one of my favorites going back to probably high school. We all listen to Steve Miller all the time. For all the parties we weren't supposed to be at, Steve Miller was on.
It is amazing, though, that you look at the young people that come to the concerts and you think, well, this is going to be older people. Then you show up at the concert and there's all these young people. You go, what's the deal here? They're rediscovering these people as they start listening to music and start, of course, ZZ songs have always played. Same thing with Steve Miller and all these guys. You hear them, and then when you get a chance to see them, and I'm always amazed at how great musicians stay great.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Remember the Allman Brothers last time they were at the Garden, and Greg was. They took a break because I think Greg was, well, he was older, we know that, but he was also, I think, had some health issues, obviously, because he died that year. But they took a break. But I was amazed even then. That's how professionals are. They may have some problems that you can't tell in listening to them or watching them.
It was like 104 that day, I think.
It was very hot.
And I think that was either the last show or second to last show that he did.
Yeah.
But we had the temperature in the trailer to 74, perfect on 74, and that was it. Don't go any high, don't go any low.
Yeah. And well, I was amazed he was still alive. There's a story that I've heard that on Beale Street, he showed up one night with a gun saying he wanted to run boogie. And the guy won't reveal his name, but he was a bouncer that night. And he said, I recognized him. I thought, well, what could it hurt letting him in? I said, he had a gun. He said, well, he did fire it off once into the ceiling. And I think, but wild times, nothing like that happens at the Live at the Garden. They have very good security. Everybody goes through it. And they search your coolers, your bags, everything, which is the safe thing to do. And I don't think anybody minds because it is all about safety. So the best way to get tickets is Ticketmaster, or do they go to the box office at Live at the Garden?
Ticketmaster.com is the best place to
Okay.
get your tickets. You can get your individual lawn tickets there, and you can also link out to the season passes, which are definitely the best deal in town,
Yeah.
if I do say so
I know
myself.
occasionally some tables come up that somebody that has to travel to Europe or something, and do y'all have any tables that have come up here, or how
Those
do you...
generally happen like we see it. It's like someone has a trip pop up or some family emergency, and those generally they'll pop on to the Ticketmaster verified resale.
Okay.
And so if you are looking for to snag a table seat or two, definitely a week of show leading up to the show, just head over to Ticketmaster and see what's available.
Which is a smart thing to do because people do lie about they have real tickets to a show and then they sell them to you. I know some people went to the World Series a few years ago, and they were fake tickets.
Oh, goodness. Yeah, we hate that's probably the worst thing that we deal with from a customer service standpoint. There's just so many folks out there that are just don't want to be right and do the right thing. And so we always say if you're getting tickets, go to Ticketmaster.com and don't buy them anywhere else.
No, because there are crooks out there.
Absolutely.
And they have no conscience.
Absolutely.
They do not feel bad about ripping you off.
Absolutely.
When do you start actually looking at other people for next year? Is that already started?
We're already thinking about it now, but we will start in earnest in July, moving forward with artists for next year. Try to get a jump on the game. The sooner the better to get everybody booked, so we can get everybody's schedule together. Not just the artists, but all our patrons and everything. Really it helps out to schedule their summer that way.
Well, I just remember during the pandemic, what a nightmare that was for everybody. I mean, everything kind of just came to a stop, and nobody knew when it was going to start again, and so we've all agreed that if it ever happens again, we're just not going to pay any attention to it, and we're just going to keep rolling on.
Agreed.
And not even going to wear a mask. Well, thank you both for coming in, and I guess I can't wait for next week, June 21st, Third Eye Blind. Still have some tickets, but look at the rest of the season, get season tickets, and as Olivia said, that's the best deal in town because you get essentially a free show for free. So check that out. But thanks for coming in. We'll see you Live at the Garden.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks so much.
Stand by. You're going to hear from some of our other sponsors, and then we'll be back.
Hi, I'm Dawn Grader, President and CEO of Southern Security Federal Credit Union. We're the proud title sponsor of the Earle Farrell for Memphis show. Coming to you live from Lansky's in the world-famous Peabody Hotel and celebrating all of the great things about our great city, Memphis, Tennessee.
Hi, I'm Glenda Hastings, owner of Napa Cafe, and I'm so proud to be part of the Earle Farrell for Memphis show, streaming live from Lansky's from the Peabody. We will be showcasing not only Napa Cafe, but some great restaurants around town. We look forward to seeing you.
Hi, everyone. It's Diane Kimbrough, Lady Di, your insurance PI. And I'm here to tell you about the new podcast that Earle Farrell from Memphis is doing. And we're doing it downtown live from the Peabody, which is behind me and next to the Rendezvous. And we're going to be talking all things Memphis, but we're also going to be talking about health insurance because that applies to everyone. And I can help you in every area. So I look forward for you listening to us and learning more about what we can do for you in Memphis and how I can help you with your health.
Hello, Memphis, Mid-South. And first, I'd like to thank you for visiting with Earle Farrell Memphis today, and we want to support him just like you do. I'm George Gully, one of the sales managers at Jim Carey Chevrolet. We've been in business here in Memphis for over 75 years. I've been associated with the company for almost 25, and I'll help you find the right car, truck, or SUV here at not only our Chevy store, but also Buick, GMC, Nissan, Subaru. We can help you find that right car. Keep watching Earl and come see me. Thanks so much.
Hi, I'm Kathy Thurman, Edwards State Farm, and I'm so excited to be one of the sponsors for the Earle Farrell from Memphis show, broadcasting live from Lansky's at the Peabody. And I'll tell you all about what we've got going on at our office. Gift cards for quotes. No purchase necessary. I'm better looking than a lizard.
Hi, this is Randy Wright from the Dive Shop and Dive Ventures in Memphis. We've been in Memphis over 64 years teaching people to dive, snorkel, and swim. We'd love to have you come join us and have some fun. We're also a part of the Dive Ventures group with 18 locations across the country, stretched from Phoenix to Vienna, Virginia. Please give us a call. We'll be able to take care of you at 999 South Yates in Memphis, or call us at 901-763-DIVE.
Hi, I'm Brett Batterson, President and CEO of the Orpheum Theater Group in downtown Memphis. We are so pleased with our partnership with the Earle Farrell Show and very happy that he is broadcasting live from Lansky's at the historic Peabody Hotel. We're all here to make Memphis better.
Hi, my name is Jamison Totten, and I'm the director of Live at the Garden and the Radiance Amphitheater. And we're so excited for our 25th year of Live at the Garden here at the Memphis Botanic Garden. We've got a great lineup for you this season, so come on out.
Hi, I'm Olivia Wall, Director of Marketing and Communications for Memphis Botanic Garden and Live at the Garden. We've had Earle Farrell right along the way for the past 25 years, and we can't wait to talk more about the season this summer on the Earle Farrell for Memphis show.
So come out to Live at the Garden. Our first show is on June 21st.
Hi, my name is Scott Fueling. I'm president of Phoenix Communications here in Memphis. I'm really proud to support Earle Farrell's show, as is everybody else on the team. We love Memphis, and we love doing things to promote Memphis, and we can't wait for this to get started.
And welcome back, live here at Lansky's, Clothier to the King. Joining me now is somebody I just met a couple of weeks ago, Michael Farris Smith, who's from Mississippi. He's an author, and he's got a new book out. It's Lay Your Armor Down, and he was doing a book reading and signing at Novel, and Claire Fullerton, who's a good friend of mine, said, hey, you want to go to the book signing and meet him? Because I'd love you to get him to come on the show. And I said, I'd love to meet him. Went there. You did a reading. I was very impressed. You're very laid back. I found out that you smoke cigars and you're in a band. And I said, he's my kind of guy.
That's right.
So if I can't play an instrument of any kind. But you enjoy live. I went to Mississippi State, where my kids both went.
Yep.
And you're a Mississippian through and through, and that's really what you write about is Mississippi, and then the rest of it comes out of your noggin.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, it's hard not to be influenced by Mississippi, right?
Yeah,
I mean, we're
absolutely.
kind of sitting in the middle of that a little bit right here, you know,
Yeah.
right on the edge of it. It's hard not for it to follow you around and live in your head and live in your heart and come out in all kinds of ways.
The older I get, the more I appreciate, because I grew up in Texas, but I've been in the Mid-South for almost 50 years. The history and the traditions and the stories that come out of this part of the country, you just don't. And you've been an author. How many novels do you have out now?
Lay Your Armor Down is 8.
8. So you've been in the business long enough to know that the South is jam-packed with great story ideas.
Yeah.
Because of the character of the people.
The character of the people, and I think the landscape, too. I think it's kind of a haunting rolling hills or swamps or mountains or backwoods or, you know, any of that. I think you combine that with the voices that you hear and the stories you hear and just the generational things that you hear. It's a very fertile ground. I think it's no surprise the South produces as many writers as it does.
Do you tour in the North and out West as well?
A little bit. You know, I just flew in from North Carolina this morning. I've been out Nashville, Atlanta, Carolinas, and then a couple of days I'm heading to Kentucky. I'll be up in Boston for an event, Rhode Island, so I'm knocking around.
And the reaction from people in different parts of the country you go to, because it's all kind of Southern for the most part.
Yeah.
And we're very well versed in storytelling because that's what we do in the South.
Yeah.
And you grow up at the dinner table telling stories, and everybody gets a shot at it.
Yeah.
Some are better than others.
Yeah.
A lot of the kids at the table, my brother, that's enough of that story. And did you grow up that way, telling stories?
Well, I think what I grew up very influenced by is my dad was a Southern Baptist preacher. So the stories that I knew were the Bible stories.
Sure.
And so those stories they all have some things in common, which is they're all very short and concise. They all are very image-driven. like fantastic imagery, burning bush, parting in the Red Sea, and then they're all about faith, redemption, failure, temptation, lust, greed, salvation, like over and over and over and over. And those were the stories that were really burned in my brain, to be honest. And I don't think shouldn't be any surprise. I'm not surprised by it. And when I grew up and got big and decided to start writing, those are the themes I kind of drifted toward.
In your when you look back at your first novel versus Lay Your Armor Down, everybody changes in the way they write and the way you present characters or everything else. What have you noticed about your own writing? Have you seen change, if anything?
That's a really good question. I think my style has evolved. I don't know that it's that different than it was, but I do know one of the things I'm probably most proud of in my writing life is that my voice is, I think, unique. And I know that because I'm told it over and over and over and over. And when people say to me, I could pick up a paragraph and read it and know it was you, it's a very nice compliment.
In fact, a lady at the book signing there, novel, a couple of weeks ago said that. She said the best first opening paragraph to a book she ever read that you wrote. Yeah. And I could tell you were impressed with that, because the only way she would know that is if they were actually true. And I've heard from Claire, my friend, that you're one of the best dialogue writers out there, right in the category with Larry McMurtry and people like that, which is a huge compliment.
Very huge compliment. Claire's very nice. She's always been very nice.
I don't hang around not nice people.
I mean, I think my voice has matured and evolved and really become its own thing, but I also do think as a storyteller, I've probably gotten a little more sparse. Lay Your Armor Down, it's very lean. I think there's 4 characters, which is probably the smallest cast I've ever had in a novel. My first novel is 350 or 60 pages. Lay Your Armor Down is 260. So I think the way I tell a story is kind of maybe developed in ways that I don't know that I could really explain, but I think there certainly is more of a leanness to it than perhaps it might have been.
I think that is being able to self-edit, too, is using words that say a lot in a very few number of words.
Yeah.
Which I think Texans are kind of known for. I mean, I used to ask my dad these long, intricate questions, and he'd go, "Yep."
Yeah.
Okay, I don't have to repeat that question.
That's right. I think some of the influence of that, too, is I've had a couple of novels made into films, Desperation Road and The Fighter, and I wrote the scripts for those. So I had to learn how to be a screenwriter, and that's a very different thing. It is very economical, and I think that has probably had some impact on the way I write prose, too,
So they'll get an idea of that, and I was very impressed with your reading. I've been to a lot of authors' readings, and what I liked about yours is that you're just you reading your words.
Yeah.
So many people kind of assume this other character, and the same thing happens on television with anchors. There's a persona they have on television, there's another one off. Your stays exactly the same, and I ask you, do you write with your voice in your head? And you said yes. And I think that's very important, too, because you're narrating the story.
Yeah.
And I think it's very important that the words you use are your words, and you're very comfortable with it.
Yeah.
Rob, would you hand him this book? And Claire wants you to read page 227? 24. Because it looks like a 7, but yeah. But at the bottom, 224.
Gotcha.
And pay close attention to just the words and his that he wrote, and then how he speaks them.
Burdine then lowered his hand and laid it down by his side. He looked away from Keel and toward the darkness outside the window. And then he closed his eyes. Keel started talking again, but he did not hear him. Keel's voice trailing away, moving off into a realm never to be heard again. And then the racket of the hallway began to fade, and all fell into silence. In the world behind his eyes, Burdine saw himself learning to drive. His father beside him, and coaching him on the clutch and the gas pedal and the rhythm of shifting just right, and how good it felt when the gears transitioned in smooth acceleration. And then he saw himself driving without his father, and he was filled with the great liberation of being alone. The great liberation of being alone that at times had pacified him, while in other times it had caused him a great hunger and sent him searching for others. But then the feelings of youth and liberation and loneliness joined together and slipped away, and he was gathered by a heavy warmth, carrying only one thought with him into the soundless and colorless void. We are a part of the hand of God, and it is soaked in blood.
Very good.
Thank you.
When you...
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Which fits in right here at Lansky's. It is... I asked you the other day, did you enjoy going out? Because I think some people they can write, and that doesn't bother them, but appearing before crowds, you seem very, very comfortable with the crowd.
Yeah, I mean, it's okay. It's you spend a lot of time in a room alone, right?
Yeah, writing, yeah.
And I think that's one reason, too, I just like to get out and, like, not make too much out of it. Just go enjoy yourself and be yourself and kind of enjoy and engage and meet people, you know. I don't really show up to put on a show, but I show up to enjoy it, you know.
What I got from it was you really like to tell your story or have your book tell the story, but then you get to kind of, you know, it's your creation,
yeah,
and you love the way it's received. I was very impressed by the people that came there, how well they know you and your writing.
Yeah.
And how excited they were about your new book coming out. So in a way, you're introducing them, your readers, to a new cast of characters, and
right.
You can't wait to see their reaction to them.
Very much so. But I can tell you the other thing, too, that I think matters to me is I can remember being in that audience. I can remember being on the other side and having the opportunity to talk to a writer or hear a writer that I was interested in. And I always really appreciate it when they would spend time talking about the craft or whatever they were going through, like, very honestly. So I think I'm trying to give that back as well. You know, last night at the event in somewhere in North Carolina, wherever we were, there was a couple of people who had driven an hour and a half to be there, you know. And so I should spend the time, and I should be honest, and I should answer the questions, and I should do it all as charmingly and, you know, lovingly and, you know, fun as we can do it, you know, while we're there, because I got a lot out of it when I was in the audience, and so now I understand to give it back some.
From mine, Steve Bradshaw is an author. Claire knows Steve, and he lives here in Memphis. And he met a guy that's a Western genre writer, and he was telling him about the book tours. He said his very first book tour premiered it in Houston, and one guy showed up. And I said, Steve asked me, he said, did you do the whole thing that you normally? He said, yeah. Figured that guy showed up. I'm going to give him everything I would have given the big audience. And some 20 or 30 years later, he's still writing and he still does. And every time he goes to Houston, that guy's on the front row.
Nice.
I mean, that says a lot.
It does say a lot. But, you know, when you go out, you never know what the crowd's going to be like. You never know who's going to show up. But, you know, if you're a professional, you give it to whoever is there. And I've been in bars before when the band was there and 4 people are there to hear the band, and the band gives you everything they got. So, you know, be a pro.
That's another feature of your life is you do have a band, and you enjoy that as much as writing. While you're in the course of writing a book, do you also perform, and does that give you a way to get away from writing for a little bit to give you a fresh perspective coming back?
Absolutely. Like, being in the band is a great relief. I mean, the performing and going out and even really just practicing, getting together with the guys and let's go rehearse, you know. It's such a first of all, I love being around the dudes, and then I love the collaboration, and I love hearing a song come together, and I love watching an audience react and seeing people dance. Those are interactions you don't get when you're writing a novel. Like, writing a novel is rewarding and gratifying, but it's not joyful. Like, it's a grind.
Yeah.
Going out in the bar and playing music, that's joyful.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a good time.
And being there and listening and participating in that. I don't think most people that go to listen to live music understand that they are as appreciated as we appreciate the bands, because that's the feedback. That's the reward you get. I mean,
that's right, yeah.
You may make some money at it, too, but the best reward is making other people happy.
Absolutely, yeah. And you can feel that. It's very tangible, the give and take of that.
When young writers come and see to one of your book signings, or read your book and run into them someplace, what are usually the first questions? Does everybody say, "I've got a book in me, and I've just wondered how to get started," or did they go, "What is the secret to it?" What are usually the questions you get?
Those are some of the questions. I get asked about being a Mississippi writer a lot. I don't get asked so much like where to start or what to do. I think as I'm telling my story and I talk about the perseverance and the years and the rejection and all that you go through, I think that kind of comes off to others. I do get the question I seem to get asked more, I think, from a craft standpoint is, do you write an outline or write a big synopsis, or do you just like wing it?
And what do you do?
I wing it.
I knew I liked you.
I've never not wung it. Yeah. I wing it, yeah.
Well, to me, because I know a lot of people do write from outlines, and I know when I was in high school and college, they always wanted you to write an outline for your speeches. I never did. I always wrote the outline after I finished giving the speech.
Yeah.
And they'd say, "Did you have your outline?" I said, "Give me a minute." I just think that the way my mind works is I don't want to have to follow a map when it's coming out of my mind real time.
Right.
Let your mind go and see where it takes you. And we talked about that, your characters, and address that.
That's right.
The very beginning of the book, where you didn't talk about how there's this woman and how that develops it up to the door, because I think that tells a lot about this book.
Well, thank you. And I think what you said about I don't want to have to follow a map really summarizes the way I feel about it, too. But, like, every one of my novels begins when I just get this image in my mind of someone, someplace, and some situation that I just can't shake. For Lay Your Armor Down, it was the image of this old woman with real severe dementia who lives out in the countryside, who in the middle of the night, very confused and anxious, just starts walking off into the woods. And I couldn't stop thinking about that. And I loved the landscape of it all, the spookiness of the woods and the moon through the trees and all this and that and the other. I was also scared for her and very concerned for her right on page one. And I think for a writer, for me especially, to have empathy and care for your concern for your characters, that's when I know I'm kind of going down the right path. Like, I already care, you know. I don't write outlines and I don't look too far ahead, because I'm afraid I'm going to rob my characters of free will if I try to follow that map, like you said. I want that notion of discovery. Like, I go in and I work. And when I'm done working for the day, I make myself a couple of notes for what I think is coming tomorrow, and then I walk in the next day and I pick up right there. And it's that trail all the way through.
I love what you also say, that you start with a fresh sheet of, not a paper because you're writing on a computer, but
right.
A fresh page. You're not continuing with your last paragraph. You're starting a whole new page because you feel like that begins that next part of the story.
That's right. About 10 years ago, I started doing that. When you open up a big document, a big story, something, you can feel the weight of that. And I don't even know why I did it. But one day I walked in and I said, I'm just going to open up a blank. I was kind of stuck, I think. I'm going to open up a blank document and I'm going to write some kind of little backstory thing about this character. And then when I got done, I opened up the big thing and I figured out where it fit. And I loved how that felt. It was like so freeing and uninhibiting. So I've written every day since then. I walk in, I don't open up the big thing I'm working on. I open up a blank document, do the work for that day. If it falls chronologically, I copy and paste it and put it right on the end of, what I have going on. But it also gives me the freedom, if I'm going to work that morning or if that night I've had some thought about, writing somebody's side story or a scene that maybe happens kind of off screen that I think might fit or work sometime, I can go in and I can just write that. And then it's there, and then I can decide or figure out if it belongs or not and where. And that's also, I think, been a big help to me in terms of just letting my imagination go, feeling free to walk in the morning and chase whatever it is on my mind.
Being a reporter, which is my background, it was always, I'm chronicling a story.
Yeah.
So I don't have the freedom to say, and then he thought.
Yeah.
And I've always wondered how that really works, because if you're making the whole story up, there is no wrong or right way to do it.
Right.
But there is a sense that I think you have of, this is believable, and I do that when I watch movies, I read books. Is this believable? Could this have happened? And as long as I still believe that it could have happened, I'm good with the story.
Yeah.
It's when something happens that's so incredulous, I sit there and go, I don't think that could have ever happened. I mean, there would be too many coincidences and miracles to happen. But as long as there's a doubt, I think it's still believable. Do you ever write something and go back and read it the next day and go, that's just not working?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there's those moments. And I think you got to be able to recognize those, too. I mean, if it doesn't make sense to me, it's not going to make sense to you, right? Or whoever picks it up down the line. And I'm not unwilling to throw something away or throw something out because it's not quite working.
Yeah, like I said, there's some believability to it. I remember when I was with the sheriff's office as a spokesperson here. We went to a crime scene. This guy was in a chair. His head had been blown away, had a shotgun laying in front of him, and he was holding a half-eaten fried bologna sandwich. And one of the chiefs said, "What do you think happened? Do you think it's suicide or murder?" And I said, "It's definitely murder." He said, "What makes you say that?" I said, "No man I've ever met gave up on a bologna sandwich halfway through." So he said, very good point. He said, "Come in the kitchen." And he had a whole big thing of rag bologna laid out. He was going to make another sandwich.
Yeah.
But those are kind of things that, as you write and in your own experiences in life, that's where they really come in. That would happen or that would never happen.
That's right. And it's always going back to compliments, it's always a great compliment when somebody raises their hand and asks, did this really happen? Or did you experience that? And the answer is no, but it felt that way. And that's very flattering, to make somebody think that this really happened.
In most of your books, at least from your talk the other day, there's always some supernatural events that are meandering through.
Yeah.
Do you like that? Does that add to the charisma to the story, or do you just like that about life? You think there is a supernatural aspect to life, and you'd like to include it in your books?
Well, that's a very fine question, too. I have drifted more toward that in the last probably 5 or 6 years. I think the answer is both. I think it's interesting and cool to write about and to kind of play with in my mind, but also with the reader. And I also think there are things out there we cannot explain that drift around in the dark or, on the edge of the clouds or down in the cave or wherever. And going back to the imagination, I do like exploring those thoughts and those possibilities. And I think putting my characters in those places where they have to kind of face up to it a little bit too and try to figure out, am I standing in a real place or is this my mind, or like what exactly is going on? It's become something I really have embraced, I think, the last few novels.
Your thoughts on Bigfoot and Loch Ness Monster?
Well, you never know, man. You never know. I mean, Finding Bigfoot, it is now like in season 15 on whatever channel that is.
Yeah.
They should probably change the name to Not Finding Bigfoot. But
then the people keep coming over with videos and footprints and people that go on camera and say, I really saw him. And you sit there and go, nah. In fact, Steve Bradshaw went to Oklahoma and went out with some Native Americans and spent the night out. And one of the Native Americans going, do you see him over there? He goes, I don't see anything. You're a white man. You can't see it. But he said, I apparently felt him, And I think that's part of it, too, is immersing yourself in a situation like that.
Yeah.
And what is really, really happening, and what is your own mind, what sounds is your mind saying is there, or even your eyesight. What are you seeing? Because you can see things that aren't there.
That's right, very much so.
Just with the power of suggestion.
Yeah. And I think I mentioned this the other night, too. Like, I feel like people who think they have everything figured out, have the answer for everything, those are the people who I'm more wary of. It's the people who are willing to, I think, to look.
And aren't open to it. I think that's the same thing with me. If you're not open to it, then I think that's a defense of people. I think they do that as their own defense to say, I figured everything out, and there's not going to be any surprises in life. And to me, the great thing about it is why you do go to a movie or read a book, because it's going to give you a look at all the different aspects of something going on. Mm-hmm. And if you can believe that anything can happen, that's what keeps the readers coming back. That's what keeps people watching a movie.
Yeah.
If I figure out a movie in the first 10 minutes of the movie, I'm sitting there going, well, I might as well leave.
Yeah,
because
right.
you don't want to know how this comes out.
Right. I mean, you think about children's stories too. I've read how many, books with my daughters over the years.
Yeah.
Them growing up, those fantasy, those things that trigger the imagination and kind of send their mind off into this other world. To me, it's just so entertaining, and it's so interesting to watch a child's eyes get big or, mind swell with those so many great children's stories. And I don't see why we can't just keep doing it,
As
we're
adults.
big people too, right?
Well, big people are children.
Yeah.
I mean, we try to slick it up a bit.
Yeah.
But basically, don't you think you're the same person you were when you were 10 years old?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. My wife is nodding.
So is mine. But I think that's the great thing about human beings is they are the same people. They've just learned about life. But basically, you talk to anybody, are you like you were when you're 9 or 10 years old? And if they're honest, they'll say, yeah.
Yeah.
The good and the bad. But
Yeah.
I think that's what's great is keeping the youthful part in your mind and the way you look at life and view life. I mean, it's, all the great stories that you grew up hearing. I mean, things like the rabbit story, and the farmer and just that whole thing in your mind's eye. And I used to love the illustrations in books.
Yeah, me too.
Do you use illustrations in your books, or is it all strictly words?
No, it's no illustrations. One of my favorite things about every novel, though, is when you start having the cover art discussion, but just because I just love images so much, and it just makes it feel so real to me.
Yeah, you talked about that the novel, and the fact that this was, I don't know how many renditions.
It was a few.
And that when they finally popped up with this one, you go, yeah, that's it. That's what I was looking for.
Exactly, yeah. It took us a minute to get there, but we did finally.
I remember going to Blockbuster with the kids and my wife, and that's what I always look for is the really interesting cover jackets to the videos.
Yeah.
And that's what I basically based what I wanted to watch that week.
Yeah.
And, it is amazing how much that influences. And I'm sure you've
Very
done
much
research
so,
on
yeah.
that.
Yeah, cover art and movie posters, all that stuff matters. I mean, it'll draw you toward it.
As far as your editors go, do you have the same editors as you did when you first started, or have you changed editors?
I've changed a couple of times, but I had an editor for the first one. I changed places for the second one, but third one. But this is book number 8. I've had the same editor for the last 5 after bouncing around quite a bit right out of the gate. So, and talking about my style and the evolution of it, a lot of the credit of that goes to him for letting me be the writer I am and not trying to keep me in a pen or, try to steer me away from experimenting a little bit. He's always been very encouraging of that, which I think I've been fortunate to have someone, to almost like steer me, I think, in that direction, or to just push me to say, yeah, keep working with language, keep seeing what you can do.
Talking to Mark Danger, who's the new head of art and studios here in Memphis. That's going to come on here in a few days, and we were talking about the music markets, Austin, Nashville, Memphis, and I said, I keep hearing things that Memphis is bringing more and more musicians here, and you're a musician, you can add to this, because Nashville has gotten so cookie cutter and is so hip and. This is the new genre, and it ain't really country, but it's selling. Yeah. So that's what they keep pushing. Here in Memphis, it's still about creativity, and what do you guys want to do? Let's see if we can make what you want happen.
Yeah. I don't doubt that at all. Nashville's pretty slick, right?
Yeah.
You're getting a little slicker every day. I don't doubt at all that Memphis, people ask me about who aren't from the South or whatever. What do you like better, Memphis or Nashville, or what's the differences? I'm like, one's got a little grit and a little color and personality, and one doesn't. And I'll let you figure out which is which. So I would love to see the Memphis music scene, grow and get bigger and more dynamic and all that, man. It's a great place for it.
Well, it is, and it always has been.
Yeah.
And that's what I've always loved about it, is that People don't care where you're from, how much you make, what you do. They either like it or they don't like it.
Yeah.
I mean, they're not influenced by dough. And I
Yeah.
think anytime that happens, there's a real honesty there.
Yeah.
Movies. You've got several of your books are either in the process or have been turned into movies. What is that experience like?
It's really, really surreal. It's also way more work than I thought it would be. It is very hard work.
Yes.
To get a movie done and then to get a movie shot. It is exhausting. But it's also fantastic. It's really exhilarating. Like, I've been fortunate with both films, Desperation Road and The Fighter, which is called Rumble Through the Dark, to work with a group of people. We all share the same vision. You know, they wanted me to write the script, so we all knew the story, loved the story. And we wanted, we wanted the same thing, which is to tell the best story we can tell, however we can tell it, with the money we got and the days we have to do it. And then to be on set, and, you know, it's surreal to me to watch movie stars walk out and start performing your characters, right? I was as impressed and influenced by watching the film crew go about their work and how hard they work every day and how dedicated they are, how creative they are, how well everybody gets along with each other, because there's so much to be done and you have to get along with everybody. And just watching the process of that day in, day out was so inspirational to me.
Like the fact that you can write a scene in an hour, and it may take 2 days to set up a scene to reproduce what you came out of your mind, put down as a paragraph on a page.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I mean, it really is. You know, because some days you get to set and I may or may not even really know exactly what we're doing that day. And then I get the script or get the sheet for the day and I look, and all of a sudden, you know, like in The Fighter, Big Mama Sweet, she's got a big silver bin full of tall boys sitting, you know, on the counter in her house. And here comes the art department walking by with a big silver bin with tall boys. And all that stuff starts to hit you like the thing you put on page years ago sitting in that room by yourself. Now it's coming to actual life. Like, they're wearing the clothes you described. What's on the wall is what you put on the wall, you know, and everybody's dialed into it, and there it is in the flesh and blood. It's a really interesting thing.
The details are really counted. Anything. Kathy and I got to go on the set of The Firm when they filmed here, and went to the law firm, which was in the International Harvester plant out in Fraser. And they built the whole law firm inside this place.
Yeah.
It had no roof on it. You saw the ceiling of International Harvester. But there was the lead character, his pictures on the desk, his letters addressed to him, his diploma with his name on it. And I mean, the continuity is amazing.
It is so meticulous and so detailed. It really is. Like, it's fascinating to watch.
Now when you're writing, since you've had some turned into movies, do you kind of write with the thought this could be a movie and you start looking at it as opposed to hearing your voice, but also looking at it visually?
Yeah. Well, I mean, no, I think it's kind of in the back of my mind a little bit, but the way I've always written is I got some really great writing advice when I was starting out, and I can't remember who gave it to me, but they said when you're writing fiction or writing scenes, you should pretend like you're sitting in a movie theater and the person next to you is blindfolded, and now you have to describe to them what you see. That made a lot of sense to me, because you wouldn't just say, hey, there's a farm. You would say, there's an old farmhouse, there's a red building, red barn, the paint is chipping, the sun is setting, there's a little girl chasing a chicken around the yard. But you got to do it hard and quick because the screen changes, right?
It's almost like play-by-play.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's a lesson in economy, in image, and continuity. Like, you have to do it every sentence. You have to do it all the time. So I was always, I think, have been kind of a visual writer, because I think of it kind of in cinematic terms. So I don't think it's really changed the way I write. It may, you know, in the back of my mind, I may, you know, see a movie star in a role of one of these guys or gals, but I also don't really, all that stuff is also it's all so far off in the distance. I'm just trying to do the best I can that day, really, without thinking about much else.
Well, it was like Larry McMurtry, who I mentioned earlier in Lonesome Dove. I love the book. read the book like 3 times. The series came out, and Tommy Lee Jones and, the whole cast of characters, I thought, well, that's not what Woodrow looked like, and that's not what Gus looked like.
Yeah.
Until I saw the very first scene in the thing where Gus walks out on the front porch and kicks the snake off and kicks the pigs. And I went, my God, they did it.
Yeah.
They actually did it.
Yeah.
And to me, that's a tribute to the writer, because they made it exactly like the book, that the readers would recognize the characters on sight.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, you're leading a very exciting life, rock and roll, writing novels, and making movies. I mean, how much better does it get?
It sounds pretty good when you say it like that.
And you put on a Lansky jacket.
And I'm wearing a great jacket.
Well, I thank you for taking the time. I know you got a very busy schedule, but I appreciate it. And I'd like to have you come back after the next movie is done, and we'll talk about that and talk more about the movies. We'll get some scenes from some of them and kind of analyze those.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you,
Earle.
Earle.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure.
Michael Farris Smith. Check him out. You can get all his books on Amazon and everywhere. Novel here in Memphis.
Yep.
And read the books, watch his movies.
Thanks very much.
Thank you. It's our show for today. We'll see you next time.